Welcome back to Bitcoin Season 2. The following conversations were recorded live at Inscribing Nashville behind the stage at the Blockspace studio. We were super happy to partner with Inscribing Atlantis on this conference series and feature extended, unscripted, off-the-cuff conversations with some of the headlining guests of that conference. Make sure to subscribe to the new Bitcoin Season 2 YouTube channel. Bitcoin Season 2 is the handle, and check out other Blockspace media content, in particular the Gwart Show and the Mining Pod. If you aren't already, head to blockspace.media to subscribe to our newsletter featuring ordinals, runes, Bitcoin mining, Bitcoin tech content, and insights. We are doing a lot of cool stuff in that newsletter over the coming couple months. And make sure to check out the Blockspace social media. We will be announcing some things, including a conference here very soon. But without further ado, let's get to this interview. Welcome back to Bitcoin Season 2. I've got Udi Wertheimer here.
Hello. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, magician, provocateur, main character of Bitcoin Season 2. I think I actually have you to thank for the idea of Bitcoin Season 2.
For the name?
Yeah, did you come up with this?
I think so. You never know. It was definitely someone on the team. I think it was me.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. I was talking to Erin yesterday, and she said she did Hell Money Pod Season 2. So it's a bull market for seasons right now.
It is.
Up and to the right.
Yeah.
From 1 to 2. Yeah, but I feel like you and I have had somewhat similar histories in Bitcoin, although you're much more prominent and salient. We both got in a while ago. But what was your experience going from like the online shitposter, nerdy guy, Bitcoin talking r/Bitcoin to out there in the person, Udi, as a real public figure? What was that like? When did that happen?
I mean, it didn't change. I'm still the shit poster that I was before. I'm just, I guess more people are reading it now. Probably, man, I don't know, probably around 2017. So that's the thing. I got known as like this Bitcoin maximalist, and now all of them hate me, but that's how I got, that's how people got introduced to me, I guess, right? In 2017, there was this entire like ICO scam bubble, and I would just be, I would be reading those white papers because I was considering investing in those things, and I was like, man, this is incredibly ridiculous. And I would just angrily tweet about my findings. So for a short while, I was known as he's the researcher researching ICO. I'm just
Udi the
shitposter, guys. And exactly, yeah. And I think, by the way, and I actually think I personally fell into the trap of like believing the anti-scam hype too much. It was in 2017. It was actually easy. Like literally every project you would point at it ended up being a scam. So it was very easy to hunt scams. But I think that kind of caused me to miss out on a bunch of like interesting developments that happen in crypto. It's still, only 1% of what's happening in crypto, maybe, if I'm being like generous, is valuable.
But it's a big kind of realization to say it's not zero.
It's not zero.
Yeah. And then it's funny because you say 2017, because I would say like modern Bitcoin maximalism was not really codified. It hadn't kind of reared its head by then. Because I would say like I even describe myself as a maximalist through 2018, maybe even 19.
Right. Yeah.
And then it began to feel different.
I think 1920 is when it started being like a very wrong position to have. And in 17, I think 16, 17. Look, I was gonna say that I think it's the beginning of Bitcoin maximalism, but of course, there have been Bitcoin maximalists on the Bitcoin Talk forums since forever.
Classical maximalism.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that 17 was... It just got kind of popularized, and it did come from good intentions at the time. So people were literally trying to kind of protect their friends from making terrible investments. And I think, because it was right? And at the same time, you had the block size wars, right? And that had like a kind of a winning side too. So you add both of those things together, and you ended up with this group of people who felt incredibly vindicated, you know, and that they can do no wrong.
And then COVID.
And, yeah, yeah. And that, you know, so it started from a path that was, I think, it started very positive and I think very intelligent, even from some people, but it stopped interacting with the real world at some point, and then went crazy. Yeah.
And then, and did you like have a thing, like a professional endeavor in Bitcoin at the time? Or was Taproot Wizards really your first like venture?
It's definitely my first company, you know. It's definitely, yeah, for sure. In 2016 though, I did get a research gig at the startup Kolu, which probably no one heard of in these parts, but it was a collared coin startup on Bitcoin. We were literally making tokens and NFTs on Bitcoin.
Time is a flat circle.
Yeah.
We're back.
Yeah. It failed miserably. I don't think there was a single person who used it in a serious fashion, but it was a thing that I worked on for a while. Yeah.
So you shit on NFTs for a little while, reversed this, saw the light, and I've heard you a couple times mention that you and Eric had been workshopping. You, Eric, and Far had been workshopping.
Yep.
The Taproot Wizard idea.
Yep.
But on ETH.
Right.
Did you prior to Ordinals, which showed up out of nowhere, did you like have a plan, or was this kind of a back burner thing? Was this just a collection? Was it part of this bigger vision? Prior to Ordinals, what was this?
Yeah, so, you know, I was fading NFTs since 2014. Right. And I was like, I remember being like very mad at the concept, like way before they were cool. And then as they were getting cool, I got even more mad, obviously. But I only think I realized that there's interesting value when I saw how passionate people were about, you know, like doing whatever it takes in order to get, like, you would go on YouTube and watch like this boring tutorial about installing MetaMask and setting it up. And those are things that I, as a longtime Bitcoiner, have struggled with, walking people through the onboarding journey to self-custody with Bitcoin. You know, my success rate has been like maybe like 2%. I don't know. I've talked to every single person I know and don't know about how to do it. And everyone's like, I'm not doing this. Yeah. And then the NFT stuff comes up and people are so passionate about it that they just swallow it up, all of that self-custody content. They go out and do it. And I was like, wait, you know, maybe that's a way to get to another generation of people and get them to integrate at least some of the values we care about, if not all of them. And it just made sense from that point of view. And we also saw some really strong communities, right? That end up like, you know, manifesting whatever goals they have into the world. And we were thinking like, hey, maybe, you know, it's kind of uncool what happened to the Bitcoin brand in our view, and maybe we can make it cool again for this group of people. Obviously, for most people, they're not going to care about JPEGs, but some group of people will, and that's a big kind of new venue for getting new people into it or care about it, or even people who already care about Bitcoin but are not proud of it. You know, I think it's so different now. But back then, like, there were people who were, they had they're crypto people. They had a bunch of Bitcoin in their portfolio, but they would never talk about it. So it was almost like people were ashamed of it because it's not a cool investment. And I think that completely changed, right, in the last year.
And did you have this idea that you were going to, from this NFT or now Ordinals collection, hire a bunch of engineers at the time? Was that actually ever part of the roadmap, or did you see this opportunity and decide to expand?
I think, look, we didn't have a clear roadmap, right? We didn't know exactly what was going to happen, but we did genuinely believe that there's a cultural roadblock to doing anything meaningful with Bitcoin. And we genuinely believe that after that roadblock is removed, there would be a lot of other options. What exactly we would do, no, we didn't know. But like, I thought it was pretty clear that like that changes everything in that sense. And what we wanted to focus on is, not crazily different than what we're focusing on today, which is we wanted to get Bitcoin as an asset. So you talked about we wanted to do it on ETH because there was no other. We didn't want to do it on Ethereum, but there was no other option that we were aware of. And so we were like, okay, we'll do it on Ethereum, but we will make it so popular that we will get OpenSea to, they'll implement WBTC payments, and maybe we'll get some of them to let you pay with Lightning, and a bunch of that kind of stuff. That was kind of the goal. And I think, it's kind of adjacent to what we're ending up doing.
Yeah. And so now you're hiring, I would say, all the smart people. It's wild.
We're very fortunate.
Like, you've managed to snipe. You've managed to snipe like all the people I think who should be hired, which is crazy. I don't know if like people are as aware. Well, a lot of people see the JPEGs and maybe hop in the Discord community, or maybe see the occasional OpCat like Twitter thread or video. But what I see, because I get to peek behind the wizard curtain. What I see is that you're sniping like the best engineers in the ecosystem right now.
Yeah.
Like this is an open-ended question. What's going on? What are you guys gonna, why? I mean, why are you hiring all the engineers? This is a much bigger goal than just selling JPEGs.
Yeah. The JPEGs are never the goal. They never have been the goal. They are a tool to kind of update the culture, but also to create an army that has goals and wants to support them. We're talking about OpCat. We're obviously going to talk about it a bunch.
Yeah.
And it is something that surely, like I can say I want it, and Eric can say he wants it, and like we can do that. But I don't think it has any, anywhere close to the impact it had if it doesn't have, thousands of people are like, no, we want OpCat and we know everything about it. We know what we're talking about. This isn't like, So that is really important. That is why we even do JPEGs. It's not even, we sell them because that's the way to do it, but that's not the goal at all. Now, for the hiring, we really do believe in OpCat. We really do think it's going to happen, and we really do want to be like the biggest cat builders on Bitcoin. We have a lot of competition now, by the way. It's like,
which is good. That's indicative that you're directionally right.
I think so.
Which gets into. Let's just get to it. Like, I feel like having been in the space for a long time, being able to read the tea leaves and now be weirdly on the inside of this new culture brewing, it seems pretty obvious to me that we're going to get cat.
I think so.
Now you have somewhat serious, somewhat joking, like we're going to get in 2024, but it's wild to me. Like 6 months ago, this was just an inkling of an idea.
Yeah.
And now it's like, wow, there's the miners are now being asked if they're going to support OpCat. I don't know what they think, but like you have big people, venture companies, research companies building with it.
Yeah.
What is the case for OpCat sooner rather than later? Give me Udi's case for like OpCat in 2024. How does this happen?
Yeah. So we, the reason I'm being kind of what people consider to be aggressive with the timeline is because we've been surprised about how fast things have been moving, right? Like when we started, we had a plan, but we thought it would take longer. We thought where we are now, we would be in, 6-12 months from today, maybe. And it's just been moving really fast. And I think the reason for it is because it is so positive for so many different groups of people. So, okay, obviously the Taproot Wizards want an OpCat. That has been made very clear. There's a community of quantum cats that they want us. Okay, that's very obvious. But it turns out it's not just us at all. So there's massive L2 companies from Ethereum like Starkware that are literally shifting the entire strategy of the entire project to move their roll up to Bitcoin using OpCat. There's, if you talk to Lightning teams, a bunch of them will tell you about how this improves Lightning and they want it and they need it.
The channel factory argument.
Yeah. you talk to privacy advocates and they're like, hey, we can make new constructs with that. You would talk to a bunch of protocol developers are now, they maybe wouldn't have said that 6 months ago, but today they're like, yeah, actually this doesn't look scary anymore and it looks like it can help us build some cool experiments. Like, yeah, let's do it. So there's just these very different groups that almost never agree on anything. But they all seem to be in agreement that this is positive for them. And that's when magic happens, right? Like the incentives are aligned, people want this. And yeah, sure, there's definitely some more challenges in the way, but it has moved so fast that, yeah, I think we've been asked so many times about this, like what's next? What's the roadmap? How do we get from here to activation? And I'm sorry, I don't know.
You're just a dog chasing cats.
Yeah, I mean, the strategy is we just keep pushing. We keep pushing at every junction, and I think that if we keep doing that, it happens. That's all it is. Like there's, and that's what we have done from the beginning, and I think it's gonna work.
Yeah, one of the things I remember when it was just like the ordinals people talking about OpCat. And I think you and I were on a Twitter Spaces, and someone said, "What's the process for a soft fork?" And they threw it to me, and I remember you being on there. I was like, "I don't think there is a process."
Yeah.
And someone started to say, "Well, the miners do this," and I'm like, "I don't think soft forks look the same."
Yeah.
And I remember you coming in and somehow eloquently in classic Udi fashion, saying a much better version of that. But like whatever soft fork lies ahead is going to look very different.
I think that's true. Yeah, it's very unlikely it'll be like the previous ones, and we tend to forget, I guess, because there's so much time that goes between the soft forks. But Taproot wasn't like SegWit either, and SegWit wasn't like CSV before it. And CSV wasn't like CLTV, I think it was. Anyways,
I called them the lightning forks.
Yeah. So yeah, they literally change all the time. I don't know that there is a clear process, and even if it wasn't OpCat, if it was something else, it would also have to look differently. It's just the way it is. And honestly, almost every time you kind of have to reinvent how to make it happen.
Let's maybe try to help me think through the ways it might look different this time. Mm-hmm. I had a tweet, which I do think is very true, which is already way more people understand what OpCat is and how it fits into a soft fork, what it does for Bitcoin, than Taproot did.
I think so, yeah.
I remember being put on the spot as like your token Bitcoin guy to say what Taproot is, and like I had to freaking just read from a page. It was like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
But Cat's very different. That is something which is very, very different, is that I feel that the average Bitcoiner and the public discussion on it is way more
robust.
Robust. What are other ways that it might, like, what are some personalities to this coming soft fork that might look different?
Yeah, well, really what changed is Bitcoin as an ecosystem, as a community, or whatever we want to call it. It changed dramatically since early soft forks. It even changed dramatically since Taproot. Today, it's a multi-trillion-dollar asset, or almost
1 point something.
Yeah. And it is adopted by institutions. There are ETFs trading, with many billions in inflows and so on. It's a completely different asset class. It's a completely different, and so in the past, the way that upgrades used to work was there was this mailing list of developers and this forum of developers, and they would talk about it. And that made sense back then because most of the adopters of Bitcoin were developers, or at least technical people. They understood deeply how it functioned, which is not the case today. The vast majority of Bitcoin holders would not be able to explain to you technically how it works, and definitely not the small, explanations about soft forks and so on. So the conversation has to be different too. It cannot be a conversation between 10 developers because they don't represent the Bitcoin ecosystem anymore.
That's something, because we did a Helmani pod yesterday. Casey was talking about how in some way he kind of wishes that like Peter Willa or Andrew Polster would come down and say, this is how it's going to be, but that's not how it's happening.
Yeah.
It's almost incumbent upon the Wizards even, to say, Polstra, please give your blessing.
Right.
As opposed to them show us the way, the village elder.
Right,
way.
right. But by the way, to be fair, Polstra has been incredibly bullish on OpCat probably before us. And he has been more and more public about it recently, to the point that I think the last thing he said about it was that he thinks it should be activated imminently, like in a week, you know.
It was on the Bitcoin Review podcast too.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. So he is very much in favor, but also it doesn't feel, you know, I didn't talk to him about this or about anything, but I it doesn't seem to me that he's very interested in literally championing it, like being like, hey, okay, I wrote the code, here it is, here's my roadmap and timeline. I don't think he wants to do that, but I would love it if he did, of course.
Champions tend, as we've seen, to be also the sacrificial lamb of sorts.
Yeah.
The Jeremy Rubin story.
Yeah.
He's only just now getting back
Yeah.
into more of the public eye.
Yeah. It's terrible what they did to him.
Yeah.
Truly. I think in many ways that is kind of the role that we're trying to assume to ourselves, to be the ones that are taking all the heat, because we're kind of, our DNA can take it.
Well, it's a bit of the jester angle. I mean,
Yeah.
you're serious. You're the jester who has an army of the best Bitcoin engineers I know.
Yeah.
But you're like, yeah, you could be, you've been the people's punching bag for a little while.
Definitely, yeah.
And you're like, I'm used to this.
Yeah, I'm like, it's more than I can take it. I can leverage it, you know? So I'm like, okay, sure. We'll do that, you know? And in a lot of ways, like, I do feel like it has given an opening for other, you know, leading companies in the space to say, yeah, you know, we actually love OpCat because we're going to take the shit and they're not, you know? And so it has, I think it worked pretty well in that sense. And I'm happy to continue to do that. It's kind of funny that it needs to be done in the first place, but you know, whatever. But yeah. The kind of, you know, the Polstras and the Willas and so on. Yeah, it would have been so great if they would just come over. But also, I think, you know, they really, and it seems like they get it too. I think they just don't represent the community anymore. It's to no fault of their own. It's because they succeeded. And the community grew to epic proportions and has so many other different interest groups now that it just doesn't make sense that a developer would represent that. But it's really, I cannot stress this enough. This isn't criticism. It means that they did an incredible job, which, you know, I'm sure you feel the same sometimes. I'm thinking back to like how things were 10 years ago or whatever. I was very bullish on Bitcoin, but I could not imagine this. You know, I couldn't imagine Trump coming to a Bitcoin conference. It's not.
Yeah, the guy
from
the Home Alone 2 movie.
Yeah. No, but you know, the president talking at a Bitcoin conference, this becoming like a national issue. Just the vastness, the ETFs, it is. Yeah, I was bullish, but I think it was unimaginable, and to a very large extent, it's obviously thanks to the work of those people who did this so many years ago, and they had a lot more conviction than I did, but we're just at this point now that it's a much bigger tent, so it's going to be a different conversation, I think. It
is a much bigger tent, and you guys throw some pretty fun parties in this big tent.
We try.
I think this is one of my favorite angles of the Taproot Wizards is you're not afraid to breathe some life into the Bitcoin social scene.
Yeah. It has to be fun. I think it comes from a place of like, I've always been like that. That's always been my personality. Like, whatever, we can do serious things, but we need to have fun doing it. Because I don't know how other people manage to do this one thing for a decade if you're not gonna like spice it up a little bit. So that's just my personality, I guess. But also I think I think it was missing for people, you know. If you look, it's I have a lot of criticism for Ethereum and other stuff, you know, and it's okay, and I enjoyed that. But you know,
throw some banger parties.
they do, you know, they have good parties. The events are fun, you know. Vitalik goes on stage in a unicorn outfit and dances or whatever, and people make fun of that. But it matters, you know. sure, it's dorky and it's stupid, but the vibes are important. And honestly, this, you know, there's a really interesting discussion in crypto right now about meme coins versus the fundamental coins, and the tech, you know. And I think it's to me, it's fascinating. Eventually everything will go to zero, but it's a fascinating kind of battle of worldviews. There is when everything goes up, it's very easy to be like, oh yeah,
it's going up because it's valuable.
Yeah, because it's like, you know, the coin with the whatever with the hats is gonna be like the biggest, like it's a paradigm shift. It's very easy to believe that, but then when the price goes down, and it inevitably goes down, it has to. When the price goes down, what happens then? Are people still going to be excited about the hat? If the price is red, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I think that the absolute best projects in crypto, and Ethereum is an amazing example of an ongoing chain that's still being developed and has been actively led, right, for its entire existence. Vitalik is a leader not only of the technical aspect, but of the community for Ethereum. And he managed to, like, one of the hardest things is to keep people excited in the bear markets and to keep people building and to keep people's convictions. And I think he did that by combining the technical with the memes. He was really good at doing both. What we see a lot today is a lot of teams that do one side. And the meme side is kind of winning for now, but I think that is because we're in a bull. We're in a bear. They're gonna have a real problem, because how do you get people to continue to care about the hat when there's nothing else and the price is down? So what do you do? So I think he did an amazing job. Really, I don't think it's appreciated enough to create and sustain this community over such a long time, and in terrible like bear markets. Man,
ETH went from was it several thousand to 90?
Yeah. 2017 was.
I thought
over.
Bitcoin was down bad, but
Ethereum was.
Yeah.
Look, and I went to a couple of Ethereum conferences at the time to kind of sample how people were down, but they still can't, like, they were visibly unhappy, but also, you know, they all came together and they figured it out. The community did not dissipate, which is amazing. And you know, I think there was a similar thing with Solana in the recent, after the FTX stuff. A lot of people would just look at the charts, and the charts looked horrendous. But if you were paying attention, you would know that there was a community that is not giving up, which is rare. Usually it goes down and they disappear. So I think if you combine both of those things, the memes and the tech, maybe there's a chance. But you need to
hire the best engineers. I want to give you a chance to shout out, you know, your team, which is pretty remarkable. When Cypher and I remember when Cypher and I were seeing that, it was like just you and Udi, or you and Eric, and I think Tyler.
Yep.
At the time, we were like, who's in?
And Far, of course.
Far. He's actually, he exceeds Taproot Wizards. Yeah. So when we were like, who's gonna be the CTO? We put like a list of people together. We're like, well, you could get this person, you could get this person. Neither of them would ever work for this type of company. The only person who do that, who has the technical chops, would be Rindell, but he would never. How in the world have you attracted the Rindells of the world? And yeah.
So yeah, we do have an amazing engineering team. As I'm talking to you, I'm trying to think. There's probably some we don't know about yet. So I
don't know who's public.
Yeah. So like, but I think what's public is Rindell and Cypher. They're both amazing, and we've been really fortunate with both. The Rindell, you know, what's really amazing about him is that he's not only a very bright and capable engineer and an engineering leader, he's also very, very good at communicating.
Yeah.
Incredibly good at
Probably
communicating.
better than anyone else at the company.
Yeah. Seriously. Because me and Eric are high and drunk half of the time. We can't. No, that's not true. But
Quarter of the time.
but we sound like we are.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think Reinil is extremely good at that, and that is, very important for what we're doing. Externally, as I'm sure you guys can see, but internally, it's incredibly valuable too. So that has been absolutely amazing. He's been obviously very early to ordinals. Cypher has been very early to ordinals. Like their experiences, we come up with those crazy, stupid ideas. We're like, can we do this? And they have like a complete plan for how to
Yeah.
So yeah.
True artificers. Do you have job titles in the company?
So far we've allowed people to come up with those, artificers and sorcerers and so on. We might, as we grow, we might have to get more formal about that. But yeah, I don't even know what my title is. Who knows? But I used to when people ask me, I used to say I'm Taproot Wizard #1. But then on the badges, it's like it says Taproot Wizard #1 from Taproot Wizards. It's a bit. A lot
confusing.
Of repeating wizardry.
And you're gonna run out of D&D names eventually.
Yeah.
My is off camera. My DM is actually our PA today. So,
yeah.
I'll probably wrap this up, but we're here in Nashville. Vibes are very high. I don't know if you just got in and you're just coming in and seeing the giant LED wall for the first time.
Yeah.
But
massive.
Does this Nashville feel different? Does this Bitcoin Miami or this Bitcoin conference feel different? Or has there been an inflection point, or is this just a natural iterative evolution?
No, I did not see any of this coming. It's like there's those three big pushes now. There's the political thing that is incredible. Honestly, look, the work David Bailey has done and his team in making all of this happen.
He's amazing. He's truly a magician.
It's insane.
Yeah,
it's insane. And I've gotten a glimpse at the process, and I don't know if people realize how much work and how much time and how much planning and what goes into making something like that happen. This is not, I text someone and he happens to know Trump, so I make it happen. This is a complete operation. I haven't seen stuff like that in Bitcoin. So that's amazing. There's the ETF narrative, which I think is continuing to be pretty strong. When the ETF happened, my big prediction was that it's going to really change the public facing stuff. So, the podcast, the conferences, all of that is going to really change because the onboarding ramps are going to change dramatically. So what worked before is probably not going to work again. So that kind of changes a ton. And then the third thing is obviously ordinals and runes in season 2, which just it did not exist 18 months ago. It did not exist. It's from 0 to way more than 1 at this point, and it keeps growing. We're hearing about new new fundraisers and new it's
so much money. I don't think people wrap their heads around that. Finally, the money from Web3 that went into crypto, it's actually being deployed into Bitcoin. That's huge.
And it was, it's one of those. It was so silly not to do it. It was not. And honestly, I love shitting on Maxi, so I'll do it again. There was this literal it was taboo for a founder
to want to make money.
To want to make money, to have a profitable company. It was taboo, but it was particularly taboo to go to one of the crypto funds and raise the Bitcoin only funds. There are very few of them, and they're very small, by the way. But whatever, they made it practically legal for you to, if you raise for someone else, they're gonna actually hang you. And the people leading those funds would go after founders from raising from other people simply so that they can get better deals, so that they don't have competition and they can devalue these companies. It's honestly, it's disgusting. And it worked for a while, and now it's done. So because now there's this, it's obvious. Like everyone wants Bitcoin exposure in their fund. There's no fund that doesn't want to have exposure to something Bitcoin related. So that's a fantastic time to build, you know?
And so it's the death knell of the monoculture. It's...
Yeah. And we're seeing that, look, it's, I don't need to name names. It's going to play out very quickly. It is playing out.
I want every part of the whole Bitcoin season 2 is a bit of inviting some of the people who played some of these major roles in codifying maximalism culture to invite them to come back and say, soften your views. We want you to enjoy Bitcoin
there's so much opportunity for these guys.
Yeah, I was like, you can make money, like, you know,
and impact.
Take a shower. Take a shower. You're absolved, and buy a JPEG and come and enjoy. Bitcoin's fun again. Like, you actually deeply want this.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's funny. A lot of it is I think literally personal. I think that if it wasn't me and Eric with the Taproot Wizards, if it was some other duo, then I think a lot of Maxis would actually like Ordinals on day one.
This was my whole point. Like one of the first things I thought, talking to Casey early on before JPEGs became the main narrative, I was like, oh shit, like numbering Satoshis, I can collect like Satoshis.
Right.
That's so cool. I thought that was the most hardcore Bitcoin thing ever.
Yeah.
I thought this was obvious and intuitive.
Yeah.
Path Dependent said, no, you guys threw your wizard on chain and we never looked back. But
I think it's both.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's both. I do see some... I have seen a bunch of like really, really OG Bitcoiners that have been buying some of these rare sats just so
the ancient whales.
Bitcoin whales, because they, for the same reason of you, like they're like, oh, this is an actually cool event. Maybe I remember it because I was there even, and I want to. I've seen that. I do think it's a thing that at least some people are like. You know, the way we tried to explain it too, but with it's obviously very similar with Taproot Wizards. It is a love letter to Bitcoin. At the end of the day, we've all like. This is one of those amazing things. We've managed to build this team where almost everyone has been in Bitcoin for a long time. And we just, you know, want to express that, you know. So that is a way to do it for us. And I think a lot of other teams have found a similar way to express it. And collecting those things is a similar way to express it. So, yeah, I actually think so. I think if it wasn't us, at least some of the maxis would be more open to it in the beginning. But that's part of the fun. So it's okay.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Same.
We can wrap it up. Any calls to action, anything you want to get out there? This probably goes out in about a week, maybe.
Look, you know, go learn about BIP420, about Upcat. Add BIP420 to your Twitter name. That's really important. It makes a difference. People can, by the way, we haven't talked a ton about Upcat and what it does. Hopefully people already know, but you know, I really do think that it's going to be like this step change in what you can do on Bitcoin. I think that similarly to how Ordinals and then BRC20s and then Runes were those like three big protocol experiments that happened on Bitcoin, and each of them had their respective like big hypertension cycle. I think what happens with Upcat is that you have those new protocols on a weekly basis instead of a quarterly basis because the opportunities are so much.
I'm getting tired thinking about this.
Yeah.
This means no sleep for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm also excited. It means I will have no short supply of guests and things to research for this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I'll probably do several deeper dives on Upcat.
Fantastic.
On this podcast.
Amazing.
With the smarter people at Taproot Wizards.
You should.
The Cyphers and Rindels and future hires.
Yep.
So thanks so much for coming. Thanks for not suing me for taking Bitcoin Season 2. And
please use it as much as possible. Yes.
Cool. And see you guys on the internet.